All right. All right, everybody. Welcome to this special training today. I'm Sean Vosler from Increased Academy, and today I've got a special guest, somebody I've known for a while, but he's more of a behind the scenes guy. He's been building out some of the best funnels in the world for some of the biggest names out there. And we got to talking a while back about, what really makes a funnel work, what's working now, and when was the last time we hung out? Was it out there in Vegas, right, Dakota? Is that right?
Yeah, it
It
was
was
at War Room.
War Room. That's right. So for those who don't know, War Room's one of the biggest masterminds out there. Some top level players, and we just happened to connect at the dinner there at a table, and you were sharing some stuff that even me working with some cool people and building some crazy stuff over the years. I hadn't seen these kind of strategies playing out. So I asked you to come in today and give us some insights, on this call here, or watching this video. They have a background in maybe copy and marketing, and maybe they're running some agencies and stuff. So I want to give them some tips, but also just the straight up solopreneurs out there. I know there's a lot of folks who are listening who, they run their own business, maybe a hybrid online, offline coaching stuff. So I want to give them some tips and talk a little bit about your agency that you put together and launched some of the coolest brands out there called Luxvoni. So I want to dive into that. And then also, just so everyone knows, coming soon, we have a TBD on it right now, but Dakota's got one of the coolest books on the psychology of selling coming out. I don't want to give away too many spoilers about it. I'm sure we'll do another call about that. But guys, this book and the training that goes along with it, I can't wait to bring it to you. So maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. Yep. But Dakota, how are you doing today? What have we been working on lately? What's working now, man?
Man, it's been absolutely crazy the last couple of months. I mean, with the funnel world and this Facebook world, Facebook stock plummeting and iOS 14 and all this nonsense that's going out there, it's been super busy. And a lot of marketers, myself included, through COVID-19, we've had to be super creative on how we're going to service customers and help businesses grow, considering everybody's in a cash flow crunch right now. Fortunately for us, a lot of our clients are venture capital backed and publicly traded. So those companies are, they're still rocking and rolling. But for the solopreneur, a lot of people got crushed. So we've been doing a couple unique things, doing some unique stuff as far as rev share deals on funnels, which has been super successful. One of the people that we did that with, Safe Life Defense, and we came in and kind of helped them, scaled them. They did $9 million in 2020, and now they're doing $52 million. So yeah, man, it's been super busy. I've got the agency rocking and rolling. We're doing better than ever. And we've kind of changed our model a little bit. We're no longer servicing a lot of clients. We're becoming super selective and really focusing on quality over quantity, which I think is the best move for our brand. We've always been after the 1% and servicing the 1%. We kind of got away from that as we scaled. So we got that back on track. And then I got the Psychology Secrets book coming out, which is going to be, super insightful. You went through some of the training and, told me we definitely should release what it is to the public. And thanks to you, you kind of motivated me to get this bad boy done and get it out to the market. So that's coming in the next couple of months, and it is going to be revolutionary as far as the secrets and the psychology of, sales and what happens with sales. So that's what I've been.
Well, maybe nice. Well, let's hone in on that a little, because I think when people think about funnels, it's like more of a tactical term, right? It's like the steps people take, the pages people go to. But behind that is a lot of psychology. And this is the area that gets really exciting to me as a marketer. It's like, doesn't it really matter the tactical stuff is important, but if you get to understand the behind the scenes stuff, what's going on in people's mind as they're going through a funnel, it doesn't particularly matter like the specifics of the steps, as long as they hit all those key spots along the path, right? Does that make sense?
I think that's the key to it. And it's just like, if you look at the world is a sales funnel. So think about the movie theater, for example. They spend all this money to put ads directly in front of you on Google, on, YouTube and everywhere else. You're sitting at your home with your significant other, and all of a sudden you say, hey, we got to go watch that movie. You drive all the way into the movie theater. You pay for these overpriced tickets. They've now self-liquidated their ad spend. You then get into the concession stand, and now what's the job? Well, it's time to increase LTV. Let's order bump the hell out of you. And then you sit down in the movie theater, and they start preloading you with all these other upcoming movies. You lean over to your significant other and say, oh, wow, I want to see that. You're sold on the next movie before this movie ever started. And then when the movie starts, you get into it, and whether you like it or not, you're already sold on coming back. That's the world, and I think that's how you social engineer your top to the top.
Not to mention the product placements. I know when I saw the latest James Bond movie, it's like, well, dang it, now I want an Aston Martin after I saw this.
I've been looking at DBSs all day.
Yeah, right. But you're right. And I was thinking even like, just the process of going to the mall. When you start to think about the mindset you're in when you walk into a mall, that even goes to the psychology of your target audience, right? Like the person in the mall is in a buying mode, so you sell to them different than somebody, maybe that's just going down the street. Like the actual messaging is going to be different, right? So people, when you look at funnels, like the very front end of the funnel changes based on what situation the target audience is in, right? And I think people discount that, the importance of looking at that front end. So maybe we'll start there, from the psychology standpoint. Like maybe going back to that theater example, right? Like who they're targeting, like whether it's a movie trailer or a poster or whatever it is, like getting after those individuals based on where they are in their life and in their situation is important, right? So with your customers and the funnels you set up, how do you look at that on the front end? Like how do you target or approach different people based on their situation?
Well, it's a couple of different ways. And I think what makes our funnels work and very unique is the psychology of humans, the socialistic programming, the social engineering. That's our first goal. We want to take someone from someone who doesn't know us, and we want to build that audience and build that brand in a way that really conveys a lot of value. So with us, the main thing, which is why I'm so impressed with what you do, and you being a psychology nut yourself, is copy is, quite frankly, 60% of it, right? Like you've got to be able to convey that message in the right way. And then you got to put yourself in the consumer's head and say right off the bat, instead of worrying about your offer and worrying about everything else, the first thing I do is I reverse engineer the same process and start working with objections. What would be the number one objection that these people would have that would take them away from my offer? And how do I overcome that, change their belief systems, change their perceptions, and ultimately create a new reality for them? Once that I've done that and I have figured that process out, I can take them to anywhere they want to go. From their current situation to their desired situation, I can bridge that. And in all of our marketing, that's what we do. We know all of our prospects have a current situation, and a lot of them don't know what their desired situation is. So our goal is to clearly define that and then bridge the gap. I think the problem in today's world, Sean, is everybody thinks they're selling what they sell. And what I mean is, like, you don't sell a drill, you sell a hole. You don't sell a mortgage, you sell a house. You don't sell a $65,000 AP because it tells time. You sell it because of the status that watch brings. So what I encourage everybody to do is to get away from, will this work for credit repair? Will this work for consulting? And start looking at it from, how do I take a customer from a current situation to a desired situation? And your service bridges that gap. That is legit it.
Yeah. Well, just to pick out a little example, the AP, what's the watch? I should know what that stands for. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, Mari's Pidgeot, the one I had on at War Room.
Yeah, right. So they have some of my favorite ads, and they're very simple, and they're in high-end magazines, but they're targeting a situation in those ads. What they show is a father and a son, and it just says, You don't buy it you buy it for your legacy, basically. They're talking about like passing things on to their children. It's like a universal experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you talk about current situations and desired situations. Manufacturing a desired situation that that may be called the promised land. A lot of people call it that in marketing. A lot of times, you said it best, people don't know that it's possible to get there a lot of times, right? And that's really a lot of times what we're selling in our marketing is that the possibility of reaching a desired situation that they never thought was possible.
Yes.
And anybody who understands that, it's so powerful, and sounds like that's your kind of guiding principle out the gate. So from that perspective, what's working now, or what do you see working now in that arena tactically? Is it Facebook ads going out front with some kind of desired based ad, or what specific things are you guys doing to reach that or create that atmosphere out there?
So what's unique about us is, this, I've been running phone call funnels since damn near 2014, before ClickFunnels really even existed. And the first business that I built was a mobile detailing company. And what I did is I got a trust fund from my father's death when I was 18 years old, and it was 68 grand. And I was supposed to get like 230. They blew it all up in 2008. And I barely got anything. So I get the money. The moment I get the money, here comes the IRS. They're after me for $23,000. And I'm like, great. So long story short, pay them back, barely have any money, blow it all on a vehicle. And then I'm stuck and I can't even afford the diesel in the damn thing or anything else. So I end up selling the truck and I got 35 grand. I had like 52 grand in the truck. It was a bad deal, of course. But what ended up happening is I sold the vehicle and I started a mobile detailing company. Well, we hit it right out of the gates. And we started doing super well. First day out, $600. We went to this big hospital and we just absolutely nailed it. And then I started really obsessing over the marketing. How do I sell this? How do I get in the door? What do I do? So what we ended up doing is I was like, I'm going to scale this thing. I'm going to create a monthly VIP plan that's $347 a month. We're going to come to your place of residence or your work on a weekly basis. And I'm going to basically put 25 people on each van. Well, what I did to do that is I started running consultation funnels that would target new vehicle buyers. And they would come through and I'd say, hey, your car is the second biggest investment that you're ever going to make. And if you're leasing the car and you return the car and the paint is damaged, guess who gets fined? Guess who has the issue? You. So I really honed in on that. And here was the funny thing. We would use a phone call funnel, set up consultations, close all these people, collect all the cash, push their service date 2 weeks out, and then I would go take the cash and the return that I got on the ad spend. I would go to the dealership and I'd finance a van, refab it, send it out, refab it, send it out. We did that 6 times and we had 6 vans. So I sold that company in 2000. I think it was 2012, it was 2014, 2015 is when we sold it. And I think I started it around 2011. So we sold the business, I took that cash, and then I got into the internet marketing side. And I realized the reason why I was able to succeed was on that aspect. So I actually got in with Ty Lopez. I paid for his Inner Circle program, which was funny. And I started following you and, all these other guys. And that's when it kind of inspired me to, marketing's where it's at. So we've always done phone call funnels. Like I have ran phone call funnels my entire career. While everybody else has been using webinars to automate $2,000 offers, every webinar, every funnel that I like to do has been a consultation funnel. And the reason why I like those is one, I can build high performance sales teams. That's where I thrive. So like at Safe Life, you've seen the results there. That was an e-commerce brand that was making, had a small sales team of 4 people making 300 grand a month. I took them to $1.2 million in 120 days out of their sales organization. They just didn't know what they didn't know. So, building those high performance sales teams, I can't always convey my value and overcome objections perfectly on a webinar. None of us can because there's no interaction. We can try to attempt to pre-frame them, but it's difficult. So I like phone calls. And in today's space, what's working for us, of course, we run some low ticket automated offers and things like that. But as you've looked at some of the biggest names in the industry, Ty Lopez is running phone call funnels right now. Sam Ovens is running phone call funnels right now. All the big names have shifted because iOS 14, they can't self-liquidate their spend anymore.
Right.
So, I've been chasing that forever. And when I started seeing people make that transition, I knew I'd been ahead of the game to some extent. So what's working for us right now, Facebook is not one of them for cold audiences. It's not. Webinars still work. VSL still work. All that stuff still works, but we're leveraging Facebook to just retarget warm traffic. I do not spend any cold traffic on Facebook anymore.
Interesting.
With us, Google search is crushing it right now. Like, we are absolutely killing it with Google search and YouTube ads, and pushing all those people to a webinar to schedule a consult, which then, we vet people and figure out how we can service them. And then we do rev shares, which I learned from you.
Love it. Well, it's crazy because, I think a lot of people, many listening to this call, they have a business, right? And they're thinking of ways. That's what you do as an entrepreneur. Like, how do I improve this? How do I do it better? How do I change it? And sometimes it's just a matter of looking at the core way you are interacting with your audience and adjusting it, right? So if webinars aren't working as well anymore, shift to phones, right? If you can't make a low dollar item self-liquidate, change the way your approach to that. And I think that strategy is very important. When you're talking about the deal you did with the car detailing, something brilliant there that I think people underestimate is selling the right thing, which you mentioned earlier. You weren't selling them on detailing. You were selling them of getting the value back out of their vehicle when they turn in their lease. So identifying that core thing that you're really selling over and over again is giving that insight to people. And that's where the phone really can do some crazy things, because you're able to strategically pull out of individuals what they think is their problem, right? And generally that's not their problem. Like, to give you an example, just from a health standpoint, like, people the most perfect example of this is that that product on ClickBank, the 6-pack abs in 6 days or whatever it was, that really famous offer. But their quote unquote innovation in that is that abs are made in the kitchen, not in the gym, kind of thing, right? So if you're on a phone call with someone like, oh, I can't get in shape, I want these abs, but I work out all the time. If you hear that and you can deliver the insight of, oh, well, you should you can't get abs in the gym if you're not getting your diet right.
Yes.
Light bulb goes off in their head, right? And I think with what you guys are doing, finding out what that light bulb is, that contrarian point of view on the front end, it's so killer, it's so important. Along with these other things, I'm looking actually, and guys, anybody watching, like, there's going to be a link above or below to this training Dakota's put together that is some of the best free training you're ever going to find online about the psychology of sales, and tapping that in with funnels. I'm at the 32-minute mark here, and you have this breakdown of these. You're talking about webinars here, but really it applies to phone calls, VSL, whatever. But just this one slide here with the introduction, content, transition, and close, like, this is $1 million slide, right? If people apply it. So first off, folks, go open that tab in a new tab, finish this interview here. But this is where having somebody like you who's done this over and over again to help guide you through that process, to me, is so important. You and I, we're technicians, right? Like, we like to get down and break down the engine and see how it works and tinker with it. A lot of entrepreneurs really shouldn't. I mean, they should understand it, but they don't need to get down and dirty if they can work with somebody to help them do it. That's why folks, definitely jump over, watch this training Dakota's put together. It's called the 8-Figure Sales Funnel. Crazy awesome content that he's put out for free. So on that consultation funnel, we'll call it, the when people are jumping on a call. Um, do you recommend folks when they start, let's say somebody's watching this, they have a service or a coaching program, do you recommend that they start doing the phone sales first themselves, or should they go out and start hiring salespeople? What's kind of the process you generally recommend for people when they're getting in that world?
Yeah, so I mean, I recommend everybody start small. And just like with paid traffic, a lot of people, they'll claim you need huge budgets and so on and so on. But ROAS is ROAS. If you get 3x on $1,000, you can get it on, $100,000 typically. Of course, there's some ad fatigue in there and somewhat. So what I recommend everybody do is start your offers on your own. Feed your own self with appointments. So what I did with Luxvoni is, I started my offer. I built my webinar. I took 260 hours scripting that webinar. It took 4.5 months of my life. And don't get me wrong, it took me 8 attempts to get my webinar to where it's at today. I mean, today it absolutely crushes it. And a lot of people will talk about ROAS. They think 3x ROAS is great. I mean, we were doing 8x ROAS on that offer consistently. So what I would recommend is you get your funnel set up. If you don't have experience in it, smart people learn from other people's mistakes. Stupid people make them on their own. If that's one piece of advice that I could give to anybody, was I wish I would have just paid experts from the get-go.
Yeah.
That's what I wish
I still need to apply that more. Yeah. No, I hear you.
Now I'm like super crazy. I'll just pay everybody to do everything because automate, delegate, eliminate. I don't have the time to do everything anymore. But I would recommend starting your own offer, taking your own consultations. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Your clients are going to tell you what they need to be sold. So go do that due diligence yourself. You know your offer. Nobody can convey the value of that offer as best as you. And then after you do that and you start generating return, I took all those appointments myself. I was spending $8K a week on Facebook ads and generating $75,000 in cash collected. At that point, I was like, okay, I can scale this. Now, what's the next step? So then I find a sales professional and I say, hey, Mr. Sales Professional, I'm going to pay you $250 to $300 per call on every deal that I close. You're going to sit on my live sales calls for as long as you need to, and you're going to get paid to watch me close deals live. Literally, that's it. And then afterwards, you're going to transition in and take over. And I'm going to help you become a top producer. I did that with now the president of Luxvoni, Antoine Webb, who was one of my students from years ago. I did that with Antoine. He sat on my phone calls for literally 6 months. This dude earns $60,000 to $70,000 a month now in commissions. You've got to set your salespeople up to succeed. So that's what I would recommend. Then once you get 2, you duplicate the process again, and duplicate it again. And before you know it, you got 6 people. Your ROAS is right, your returns right, your commissions is right, and then you can scale up a big model as long as you can deliver it. Like we've done our best month, cash collected wise. It was some rev share deals in there as well. But I mean, we were selling webinars, high ticket, 45, 50 grand for people like Bill Gross Scale, Intuitive, Safe Life Defense, big companies. And I mean, we were collecting $500,000 a month just off development. And that was with 6 salespeople. So you don't need a big sales team, but that's what I'd recommend. Start small, duplicate the process, and then scale it up. But if you can't close, you need to learn to close. You need to learn to be a good coach. Right. So what kills me is I'll coach these sales professionals. And at these big companies, they worry about voice of customer and all this other BS. And it drives me insane because a good coach, if Sean hires a coach today, do you want that coach to challenge you, Sean?
That's the idea of having a coach, yeah.
So if you're on the phone and you want to be a good coach, then you need to coach the prospect to their desired situation despite how challenging the sales process is. That's what a good 100%. Coach does. A good coach pushes you to limits that you never thought that you had. They level you up. So that's the first thing. You've got to be a good coach. And when a prospect pushes back, you've got to push some more until you find their breaking point to get them to level up. That is the goal. And that's what I recommend everybody do. But If you
Well,
can't
and what's really funny about that, just from somebody, so I'm kind of like, I'm going to put myself in a category here just to give some people who may be more introverted some context here. When you say, you need to be a coach and push people, a lot of people may look at that and say, oh, I'm just, it's not really me, right? But the truth is, that is you when you're passionate about something.
It is.
Like if you know something's right or wrong, and you're talking to somebody and we'll do an extreme example. You have somebody who's drinking too much and they're ruining their life.
Yep.
You know for a fact they're ruining their life. You're not going to just piddle around the argument like, oh man, you should work on that. No, you're going to call them out on it, right? Because you care about them.
Yes.
You want them to succeed. And the same is with anybody you're talking to who should buy your product. If they shouldn't buy your product, like they don't need it, it's probably a good chance they're probably not a good lead, and maybe you need to adapt your offer, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't sell them, it's fine. But if you know it will help them change their reality to what they want it to be, then you have all the right in the world to be strong-willed in the discussion, right? And I find that interesting because I'm an introverted person. Like, I'm pretty chill, but I sell. One of my favorite things to say to potential clients is, no, you're wrong, because then I can present them with a better alternative because they don't know what they don't know, right? So you as the expert. So I want to do something I wasn't really planning on doing on this call, because you mentioned something that I think is super important, and I want to stress it for anybody listening. First off, go watch that video. Like, there's going to be a link to a video on this page, but also you talked about this idea of delegating the things that you're not necessarily aren't the most critical parts of your business. And something that is the most critical part when you're in this phase of business, like scaling up, getting that 60, 70K plus a month range, being the top salesperson in your own company, getting on those calls, the best use of your time is getting on those calls, right? Cashing it, getting those sales, and like, not doing great the first couple calls is fine. Like, it's about getting started, right? But the part folks need to get to that first phone call, whether they have a website or not, or whatever, they need one of these funnels that you're talking about here. They need that front end, connect with the audience, introduce a new perspective, schedule a call, funnels, right?
Yes.
And my plan today was to just introduce you to my folks, and I think we've succeeded in that. But what I also want to recommend people do is actually go to the link with that sales training on it. You'll see an area where you can actually set up a call with Dakota's or his team for a funnel strategy session. Now, the reason I'm recommending people do that is because I do think this front end piece is better left with the experts, actually building out these types of funnels, setting up the actual tech, the graphics, the copy, all this stuff. When I set this up for folks, I charge a boatload of money. Like, there's just no way around it. When I set up a funnel, there's a lot of cash involved because it's very specialized deal. Now, I'm just going to be a little more transparent on here with you guys. I'm not going to give price or anything away, but Dakota has found a systemized way of building out these funnels. He is very selective with who he works with, but what's nice is the way he's done it, being able to provide the copy, the design, the tech, all this stuff done for you style. I've never seen anybody doing it at this price point. Like, I don't want to spoil the surprise or anything, but if you want to work with Dakota and his team, now is the best time to do it, because that frees you up, right? That gets you the asset to get those leads, to make those calls, so that you can become the salesperson, start moving packages, as opposed to tinkering around with ClickFunnels or trying to get do all the stuff that I do, which is spend way too much time on the graphics, right? You go to the site, maybe you can talk a little bit about it, but this is some beautiful stuff. But you're not just giving them like templates and stuff, right? You're actually helping them build out the pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah, so the first piece is every business is different, right? And I mean, we have funnels from Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, I mean, some of the biggest names in the industry. And where a lot of my downtime is spent is really doing competitive market research and finding what works and why it works. Like I have connections with Tony's marketing team. I can kind of get an idea of what's working. I was the chief marketing officer for Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, lived with him in Hermosa Beach, built multiple webinars for him, and I've been able to see what works. So the first piece on that call, what we'll do is we'll take a look at your business. We'll define what your current situation is right now, and then figure out what your desired situation is. And then I will help you based off data, not just theory, based off real data, craft a 2 Comma Club award-winning sales funnel for your business and actually come up with the entire strategy. Now, what makes us super unique when it comes to sales funnels? We build everything in Photoshop. So everything is custom from the ground up, from the design to the entire beast. So everything's built in Photoshop. We then import it to ClickFunnels. And here's the crazy thing. We've got copywriters on our team. We've got a crazy project management system on our team. I've spent over $100,000 in the last couple of months just dialing in our operations for scale. We can deliver a custom bespoke funnel, 6 pages max, in 14 to 16 business days from the ground up.
Nuts. I don't know if anybody, if you've tried to build it yourself, you probably know that's very difficult to do. I will say nigh impossible to get right the first time. Right. You know, if you really want to build this stuff out, like getting it right the first time, it's just not going to happen. You're going to have to mess up a few times to get it right. Much better to work with somebody who's done it. But what's even more awesome about it, you use that word bespoke. These designs are incredible. Like if you click on the link or whatever is below above on the screen, you'll see some of these designs are incredible. But what's on top of that I think is the biggest part that I actually don't understand how you guys are profitable with doing this right. is providing the copy, the done for you copy, because copy is, I'm a little partial, of course, right. But it's the toughest thing to get right. And if you could just get that headache out of the way of your business, like you're working with somebody who knows what they're doing, they've done it with tons of people, you could just get that off your plate so you can focus on the selling part. Do you work with like companies who sell info products too, or is it more phone?
A lot of info products, but they're typically sold over the phone. High ticket info products for $9,000, $6,000, $5,000, somewhere around there. Okay,
cool. So maybe if you don't have an offer just yet, right? That you want to sell, maybe. Just schedule a call and have the conversation about where you are in your business. That's what's beauty of this strategy session you're offering here, which, by the way, is free as well. You'll see on the page there's a little calendar they can set up. The beauty of that is it is a strategy call, right? It's not a sales call. It's to get an idea of what you're looking to accomplish in your business or the business you want to create. Who are some of the folks you think would benefit most from this?
I mean, honestly, anybody who has a product or service-based business that's looking to be taken behind the scenes of some of the most successful sales funnel launches from 7 figures to 8 figures, that really wants to understand what's working and what's not, because there's been a trend and people have continuously, they've been able to explode with funnels. But what separates the ones that absolutely explode from the ones that don't? That's the real question. We have that data. We've been able to work on enough funnels and consult for enough companies. I mean, we've consulted for Infusionsoft, BarkBox, Prezi, these massive companies, and we've been able to take all this money that these big VC-backed organizations have. We've been able to test it all on their money so you wouldn't have to. Like, that's the question. What's the data? What's working and what's not? So it's not a sales call whatsoever. And we're selective with the people that we work with. To go back to your copywriting statement, how are we profitable? I'll be honest, we are not that profitable on the front end. That's not where we make our money. We'll literally discount our services to our direct cost. If somebody's got a dream, a mission, and they have huge upside, I stole this from you, by the way. We'll change everything to our direct costs, give them the funnel from start to finish, and then once we're done with it, we'll partner with them on a rev share, and we'll bring in people like Sean. We'll bring in people like Nick Fisher at Ajexa from consulting.com, your buddy over there. We'll bring in Dimitri from Big Life Marketing. We'll bring in all these experts, and then we start running traffic. We get them tuned up. And then boom, now we got 15% of a business that's doing $1 million a month. That's how our strategy works today. And that's what we're focused on doing, making people win. And the only way that we win is if they win. That's the model we want to be known for.
That's awesome, dude. And, the front end of that is a great idea, but ideas are only worth, the paper they're written on until they're implemented. So, if people are listening, if you have a great idea, great. Like, let's make it happen. But if you're already, pushing some product, you have maybe a small scale consulting deal going or coaching deal, jump on with Dakota and his team, because you might find that it's much more scalable than you thought. I think that's the biggest surprise people have with their offers. Like, for example, a buddy of mine, him and his wife, she does hair extensions, and she does it as a consulting thing, but they ended up making an info product out of it, and a coaching program out of it, because they can, as a hairdresser, you can make a lot of money doing hair extensions. Who knew? I didn't know. Like $3,000 a pop. Like, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
But she was making, one of the top paid people in that industry, making lots of money with it. So a lot of people fall into that category, but they're like, how can I scale up, hair extensions? I can only do so many a day. Well, it may be a matter of putting together some training, a coaching program, selling it for $3,000 or $4,000. Then you're looking at the $50,000 a month range, right? It might not be the offer that you have right now, but an evolution of it. So if you're like an expert in a certain field, but you can only make so much by working one-on-one with folks, talk with Dakota's team. There's opportunities out there that you don't know what you don't know, right? So I didn't really plan to segue hard into that offer, but what's so beautiful about it is it lifts off for a really just unbelievably reasonable price, the Band-Aid of getting that front end right. Because it's really hard to work on the back end of your offer, the thing you're selling, if you can't even get people in the door, right? So that's the beauty of what Dakota's offering here. And I didn't know about the partnering deal. That's such a killer next level way to look at things, because it's almost like you're going out to Y Combinator or one of these venture capitalist folks, but you're not asking for money. You're asking for resources and getting, some of the best in the world to work with you. So that's really cool.
Yeah. That's what we want to do. We want to be like a hedge fund, but marketing. Build a portfolio every single year and invest everything that we have as far as talent. Because be honest with you, what's money? Money is nothing without companies to put it in. It's nothing. Right now, inflation's at damn near 18%. If you've got $100,000 in the bank right now and you leave it there, a year from now, you will lose $18,000. That's how bad inflation is. So what is money? It's nothing. Cash is nothing right now. So what we've got to do is, how do we partner with people, bring in the expertise and scale them? And that rev share model, I was very skeptical about doing it. And you actually persuaded me to, try to explore it to some extent. And we did a couple of big deals. And all of a sudden, chasing that $300,000 to $500,000 a month on the front end, we could make the same money off 2 deals instead of servicing 40 clients at once. And I was like, value per minute. What's my value per minute? What's my value per time? And I want to encourage you guys on this call, you've got to know that. What's your value per hour? Is it worth your time? Like, the way that I operate is, I'm presented with an activity. I ask myself, will I enjoy it? Yes or no. I ask myself, is it worth my time? Yes or no. And then I say, okay, can I automate it? Can I delegate it? Can I eliminate it? That's the problem that I see with a lot of entrepreneurs, is they don't need marketers. They need psychologists. They need to let go and bring in subject matter experts. If you look at the greatest of all times, big companies, guys that are doing real revenue, more revenue than we'll ever do. They have teams. They bring in talent. They invest in their people. And I think that's what everybody needs to inspire to do, because you don't have a business until you have a team. You know,
Right.
you've got just a practice. And when you go, how does it take care of your family? It doesn't.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And, I'll just add on to that, you'd think it's ridiculous to look at an Olympic, anybody in the Olympics, if they didn't have a coach, you'd be very confused, right? There's not an Olympian out there that doesn't have a coach.
All of
And, it can be a tough call to make because you don't know who to trust, right? And that's where, like, I honestly don't promote a lot of coaching offers because it can be tricky to pick out the right people to trust. And I've been burnt before. A lot of people have been burnt before. So it is a lot of times like you're on your back heel, like, oh, is this what I'm looking for? So what we're talking about here is not so much a coaching program, even though I think that's going to be not a front page off part of this offer, but a kind of a back end in the sense that you're almost getting coaching by the sense that they're just going to tell you what's working now and give you the keys to the car. So you don't have to build the whole car yourself. But I give everyone out there a challenge. Go watch. You can skim through it. It's a bit of long training. I started watching the whole thing, and I'm about halfway through it. There's a bit more for me to even go through, but so far, like, insanely valuable stuff. On the link below, there's the training. Set up a call with Dakota. There's no obligation or anything. It's a strategy session to see if their offer works with what you're hoping to accomplish, right? And if nothing else, go watch the training. Like, it's insanely valuable if you're an entrepreneur. And Dakota, any last kind of thoughts on what is going to be working in the next year or two as we move forward in the marketing world that entrepreneurs need to be paying attention to?
Yeah. So first thing, I want to touch on that call real quick. As far as the strategy session and you talk about coaching, here's the unique thing. The individuals that we do rev shares with, we all have skin in the game. So when we bring in a rev share deal, majority of people who run funnels, they get the front end right or they're sloppy in the back. We optimize that. So what works for me is a front end funnel that generates phone calls, and then a massive, small, big, but long story short, a high performance sales organization to close those deals at a predictable, measurable, and accountable rate. So when we come in and do those rev share deals, I bring all that expertise to you. Like, that's where I thrive, building massive sales teams. That's what's made me successful. Just because I'm great at marketing doesn't mean shit. If I couldn't convey the value of that marketing, I would be a small company that never took off. That's the first key, is you've got to convey that value. So when we partner with you, we bring all the resources to the table. I'll help you structure your sales organization. I'll help you structure your scripts. I'll teach you how to recruit. I'll teach you how to leverage psychometrics, socialistic programming, social engineering, what personality profiles fit right salespeople in your organization, DISC profiles, Myers-Briggs, all of that stuff, and bring all that to you. And then the second piece to that part that we just spoke about was, what's working right now and how do I think marketing is going to change? Well, two things. On the front end, marketing is getting harder and harder. It's not 2015 anymore. It's very difficult. So I think the days of you honestly being able to just throw up some half-ass funnel that's not super bespoke and make it work, I think those days are over. I don't think they're going to exist anymore. I think you're going to have to become extremely competitive because funnels are now super high end. They look better. They're harder to build. You've got to set yourself apart from the rest of the competition. I think that's the first piece.
100%. Yeah.
The second piece would be you can no longer run sloppy. You've got to have your funnel. You've got to have your marketing contingency plans. You've got to be able to capture leads that are falling through. And then the third piece, you've got your funnel. You've got your marketing automation. The next piece is you need a team of closers, because I'm telling you right now, these automated offers, they're dying. If you don't have something on the back end, a sales team that can help. Like at Safe Life, we literally called abandoned carts. Gunner was making $1,500 a day on an e-commerce website calling abandoned carts. I worked with him for 100 days. This dude was making $15,000 a day calling abandoned carts. People that didn't
A real
check it out.
10x.
All he would do is say, hey, I noticed you're having some technical issues with the website. Just wanted to touch base with you, see how things are, see if I can get you protected, get you taken care of. How are you? Boom, it opened up. He closed them. They just had questions that weren't conveyed right in the marketing.
Yeah. And these little things, like I wouldn't have thought to do that. Like, I work in funnels all day long, and there's little bits like that are just like, when you're working with people who do this all the time, you just get to fill those gaps in your funnel so much quicker. It's wild, because it is an overwhelming world a lot of times, and that's why you want to work with people who are deep in it. And I think if I were to add anything to that, like what's the future of marketing, it's not changing as much from a principle standpoint. It's always going to be about the right kind of intention, working the right kind of trust building elements. It's like the fundamentals, they haven't changed in the last 120 years. They're going to be the same for the next 100 years. What changes is the avenues to get that. And there's no doubt that attention spans are lower and stuff, but they're also higher than they've ever been, right? In the sense that if you get something that's engaging and interesting to the person, they'll watch it I'll watch 3-hour documentaries on like my personal things of interest, like aquariums and stuff, right? So it's about understanding how attention works, not necessarily. So these are the things like I love that you're talking about, because a lot of folks who talk funnels and stuff, they're just focused on the buttons and the test, this headline versus that headline, where the reality is you got to get those fundamental principles, the undercurrent of the marketing, right? So, Dakota, I want to thank you, man, because A, I think you've brought a lot of killer value, but B, you've created an offer that it's why I wanted to set this up. You were telling me about it. I was like, dude, this is insane that you're offering this. I know a lot of folks in my world could really benefit from it. And it's an offer that, frankly, if I could scale it in the way you have and get it to the price points you have, I would love to run myself. But I figure you guys are already doing it awesomely. Why not just introduce folks to what you're doing? So, killer to have you.
Been a nightmare, but we got it dialed in finally. 3 years in the making.
Dude, that's killer.
Anybody who's a followers of Sean, anybody who follows his work, I mean, his work has made a dramatic impact in my business. And, I'm great with words. I'm not always great with text. I'm not the best, but what the good news is I brought in the best people to do it. So I know my strengths and vice versa. But anybody who comes in from Sean, not only will we give you the sales funnel strategy session, we'll give you an exclusive pricing for Sean on everything that we do, as far as funnels, as far as coaching, as far as consulting, all of that. Sean will have his exclusive discounting pricing. So if you schedule that call, just in that bottom where it says reference, make sure you put Sean V, and you'll get all of those. And then any way that we can support you on your sales aspect, on your marketing aspect, we'll show you what's working. And if you want to implement it on your own, you can do that on this call. There's no pressure. But if you want somebody to help you implement it, we may extend the invitation to you if we think you have potential. If not, we may not. But I would recommend scheduling that call. And we got a lot of cool stuff coming out. And it's about it.
Dude, Dakota, appreciate you, brother. When that book comes out, we'll have to exchange, physical signed copies. Yours might even get out before mine. It's only been like 3 years. So I'm almost there.
But I heard somebody.
Dude, that helped, right? And I'm telling you guys, there is that just undeniable way of the world that if you can get in the orbit of the right people who've already accomplished what you're looking to accomplish, you're going to exponentially increase your rate of success. There's like no way around that. It's not guaranteed success, right? Like you may start with somebody, but you're not ready, or they might not be the right fit, right? But there is no doubt that coaching, working right with the right experts, it makes all the difference in the world when you're looking to reach a specific destination. So let's leave it at that, buddy. We're going to have you back again, of course, to talk about your book, because it's going to be incredible. But thanks again, man. And I'll let you leave with any last words or thoughts you might have on folks and why they should check out your training and take a look at setting up a call with you, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me. And last words is pretty simple: automate, delegate, eliminate. Those are 3 words to live by. And as soon as you do, you'll start seeing massive results in your business. You'll have more time. You'll be less stressed. You won't be in a state of chaos, and you'll have order. That's my one recommendation to anybody right now.
Killer. Love it, man. Thanks for watching, you guys. We'll see you on the next one.
See you, buddy.